All right, let's do it. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another DMing Hadley game. Tonight we are playing Shadow Squad. That's right, the Mercenary Guild of Shadow Squad, and we've finally gotten around to actually living up to the name because we are now at the sort of divide between the Shadowfell and the Underdark. We're way down. Oh no, John left. Well, it's just me and Matt now, so it's gonna be a hard fight tonight. Oh, John came back. Oh, good. I was worried about Matt for a minute. His mental health may have been just thrown
In
into the
danger.
thresher for just a moment.
It's suspect to begin with.
Right? Yeah. We're already teetering.
Yes.
Just go, God. Yeah.
Yes. Just a little push and,
all the way down. Speaking of all the way down, this is part 2 of The Delve, which is what I'm calling this sort of mini-series, where we're going to be setting up, hopefully, a mercenary guild base in the Underdark, pretty much right between the edge of the Underdark and the Shadowfell. And so this is part 2, and I'm calling this one Friends in Low Places. So I'm excited to get right to it. Last time we saw you guys, y'all had managed to get down from the Mercenary Guild airbase into a pretty significant cave structure, which is deemed to be the next sort of ancillary headquarters for the Mercenary Guild, in an attempt to undermine a drow invasion of the Feywild. And y'all made some friends, some hook horrors. Y'all also met an aboleth, and what a horrifying creature that was. And I think it was the voice more than anything else that really was disturbing. And because that's what deep speech sounds like. And then your good friend Kagos wandered over and started playing with a backpack that he shouldn't have, and set off a pretty serious bomb of alchemist fire. And then you heard a voice from upward in this cave structure. We've been expecting you. And that's where we left you. And so, if y'all have been here before, you know how it goes. It's time for the round robin. We're going to go around, do 4 distinct things. The first thing we do is introduce ourselves. The second thing we do is share with one another and the world our pronoun. The third thing we do is introduce our characters. And the fourth and final thing is offer a vivid aesthetic description of our characters, so that they may live in each and every one of our brain holes, because I like to vividly hallucinate with my friends on the internet for 2 to 3 hours at a time, 7 days a week, often multiple times per day, and today is no different. So, Matt, why don't you take it away and show the folks at home how it's done?
Hey, I'm Matt. I go by he, him pronouns. Tonight I'm playing Garrett Silverleaf, who is a elven gloomstalker ranger fighter cleric, Twilight domain cleric. Hanging out in the Underdark, fighting drow is his jam. That's what he loves to do. So he's excited about being on the Shadow Squad for the Mercenary Guild, and is hoping he gets a chance to fill drow with some of his arrows. He's about 6 feet tall. He wears a black cloak with the hood up and a mask to better conceal himself in the Underdark, especially with his 300-foot or 330-foot dark vision and ability to hide from other creatures that have dark vision. His primary weapon is a bow. He has some special archery bracers that you can see under his cloak, and he is excited about the game tonight.
I am too. I love that he's very purpose built. That's
It's almost like I knew it was a adventure in the Underdark, and I crafted a character specifically for that.
God, wow. You're I hate to say it. It sounds like a thing you'd think you'd do, but I don't think most people do.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm like that though.
I'll be honest though, I'm still not mad at it because I know plenty of people create amazing characters, and sometimes the fun part is being unprepared. In this case, I'm here for it. I think you got something great going on with Garrett here. So, thanks, Matt. Mr. John, why don't you take it away, bud?
I'm John, he, him. Tonight I will be playing Mary Garden, or in the original Abyssal, her native tongue, Mechegutun. And Mary Garden is a hexblood blood arcana wizard. She delights in the conduction of blood magic and the experimentation with blood magic. She her origins as a hexblood creature are that she was a failed clone of Igwilv, otherwise known as Tasha. She managed to escape the demi-plane where Tasha was keeping her as soon as her consciousness came alive, and she has been kind of on the run and in hiding for many hundreds of years ever since from Tasha. So she has become kind of a second, has adopted the Feywild as a second home, has been masquerading as a hag for many hundreds of years, and has found a way through her very twisted essence to continue progenying young hags, despite not anatomically speaking being a hag. So she takes the form of a tall blonde woman. That image isn't showing up too great.
We're good. I might be able to kick it up here on from the Discord. Oh, there you go. That's solid.
That's better.
That's very good.
So she kind of minimalist attire. She wears like a black leotard and a lot of metallic jewelry. She's got like neck rings on and braces on her wrists. Lots of piercings and body modification going on. She has a forked tongue. She has like body modification on her legs and things. So she is an unusual looking humanoid.
They get them subdermals.
Yeah.
I saw a subdermal being installed, implanted. It was really something to watch a live individual without anesthesia having their flesh flayed in front of me. It was very unique for everyone in the room, really. So it was also really neat. It was like a little silicone triangle, excuse me, underneath a tattoo of a triangle, so it would end up having some relief. And I'm like, I
do like the idea that in the artwork, this tattoo on her chest is actually a magical brand. But I don't have the magical item that is the magical brand. So maybe someday, if this character evolves, that'll be what it turns into. So that is Mary Garden.
I love it.
I don't know why I didn't think of being able to show a picture on my phone, but here is Garrett. It's
not a little closer. Come closer. There we go. Yes. No, to your left. Yeah, there we go. That's the money shot right there.
I love it. That's a very classic shadowy ranger. Artwork for rangers is so good.
Agreed. Sweet cheese. I'm DMing Hadley. He, him pronouns here for 60% or so of your DMing needs, because I don't do maps. Guys, how your characters fared very well in two separate mini encounters. I just want to check in before I drop you into what's going on now. How were you feeling both as players and as characters?
Mary Garden did take a lot of damage, actually. I'm at 33 out of 81.
Okay, so it wasn't nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, Garrett's at about 75% strength
Okay.
right now in terms of damage.
Okay.
Um,
But if you play your cards right, you might get into some long rest territory here. Let me go ahead and do this. It has been more than an hour since we saw your characters last, so why don't you go ahead and take a short rest as I set the scene for you? How's that sound?
Delightful.
The voice. The voice that you all heard coming from the caves above you was a dark skinned male, and he had a very interesting aesthetic to him. He's wearing dark gray. It looks like kind of like leather, but it obviously has sort of a softer hand to it. And he explains that all of the garb for the Shadar Kai down here are made from mushrooms. Various mycelial structures are grown specifically to turn into garments, and the majority of their buildings and of their clothing, even some of their tools, are made from these mycelial structures and crystalline structures, which they harvest and weave together to create these ridiculously high tensile fabrics and building materials. And as you were introduced to this society, now, Garrett, for you, it's very easy. You can see in the darkness here the faint illumination of many of these bioluminescent mushrooms, providing more than enough illumination for you. However, Mary Garden, it takes some sustained magic at first for you to see in this space. Is it a first level spell or a cantrip to be able to?
So I forgot. I actually do innately have dark vision.
You do. Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm going to actually, as part of my clerical abilities, I can share is something called Eyes of the Night, and I can share dark vision for up to a range of 300 feet with Marigarten, and it'll last for 1 hour.
Great.
So I natively I have it to 60, so that difference 60 to 300.
It's radical. The difference, especially when you look inside of the cave that you've been led to. The direction is difficult to ascertain, but up, quite a ways up, is where this city is located, and it is not insignificant. That especially with that 300 feet of dark vision, you can make out another sort of tremendously hewn rock cave, just a sprawling cavern, the walls of which seem to have been almost stone-shaped, nigh on the pouring and shaping of concrete, to create a number of homes and structures. And the Shadar Kai, while being quite, let's just say, suspicious of outsiders, Raul, your guide, has taken a liking to you, explaining that their matron divined your arrival some time ago, and leading you through wide boulevards in this cave structure. You see family after family of Shadar Kai down here, and they are curious but hesitant to engage with the two of you. I can't imagine why. It looks like the two of you came down here to kill anyone or anything in your way. I don't know where they took that from. And as you approach, you see a structure that's not built into the walls like these homes. It seems to be more of a temple. And as you approach those doors, you can see that unlike the rest of these structures, it seems to have a faint glow to it as well, as if the mycelial structures of these bioluminescent mushrooms is part of its construction. And a curtain is drawn from the front of this building, exposing an archway. And inside, you can see there are little fires, almost like candles. But you are met very quickly with a deep and earthy, sort of incensed aroma, and a small cloud of smoke that wafts over the three of you as you walk inside. At the far end of this structure, about 80 feet away, you see a woman. She has hair split down the middle and braided into two thick, silvery white ponytails. And her eyes are closed, and she is humming softly in meditation in front of a brazier. And without opening her eyes, she reaches over into a basket and withdraws a small lizard and throws it into the fire, which combusts as if she had just thrown gunpowder on top of it. And as those flames die down, she's no longer seated in that position, but is instead behind the three of you. And at once, Rael kneels, his head bowed low. And what do you do? You can feel her presence. It is noticeable.
My first question would be: when we first met this guide of ours, what do we already know about the Shadar Kai individually,
Sure.
and what might I have gotten from Garrett when I asked him what he knows about the Shadar Kai?
So here's I'll pose another question on top of that, and that is: would you have this conversation in front of Raul as he was leading you back towards this city? I'm okay with it being yes or no. It just may change his sentiment.
Does Garrett speak any exotic languages that I speak?
I speak Undercommon,
Okay.
Elvish, and Undercommon and Common.
Okay. No. Then no. If it was one of those situations where we just came upon him and we never had a chance to be alone, then I guess it'd be a question of what do I know about the Shadar Kai and what does he know?
So let's do that. Let's get some history checks.
I rolled a 25.
You know this guy. You know.
And what I would want to know is their disposition towards the Drow.
Sure.
Are they allies, enemies, or indifferent?
Fair enough. How'd Garrett do?
Hey, 22.
Okay. The Shadar Kai are renowned for their assassins because of their poison abilities and the infrequency with which people see a Shadar Kai. There's a lot of mysticism and legend around them, but that's mostly because the only Shadar Kai who leave their communities generally are doing it for a particular reason, and oftentimes either because of their renowned, are sort of pigeonholed into roles as assassins or guards, when they're outside of the Shadowfell. And but otherwise, as a community, they're just like everybody else. They have burgeoning cities underground. They survive by the skin of their teeth, and by, like most groups on the fringes of society, working as a community to ensure that everyone thrives. They are deeply matriarchal to the point of misandry and then some. And Garrett, you would know if you don't get on your knee pretty quickly here, bud. You might piss somebody off. Similarly, Mary Garden, you would not be expected to share in that same level of respect, being female.
So
Uh,
I will kneel down and
okay.
say I am honored, mistress, to be here.
uh, that demurring will go far for you. You also know that Shadar Kai do not associate with the Drow if they can help it. It is not that they are a warring faction. It is that they have managed to fight enough Drow over time to ostensibly be at a standoff with them. And as long as nobody gets too big for their britches, there is a tacit peace between them. Um, what else would you like to know?
Do I recognize this woman's robes? Is she any kind of priestess? Any particular order? Can I discern anything from where she is and how she's attired?
Um, let's take a quick look here. There's nothing immediately that seems to define her as a member of one tribe or another. Her clothes actually look relatively plain. If it were not for um, the silvery white braids that she has, she would look like any other Shadar Kai. The difference being that most of them shave their heads or do not grow hair at all. And so there is also somewhat of an androgynous appearance to the untrained eye.
Okay.
Anything else you guys want to know?
Scan the inside. You said there are torches sort of like inside it. Is there anything else, just as a quick scan of the room
Yeah.
before dealing with her, that we can see or notice?
While this looks very much like a traditional but very small temple, there are no pews. Each of the torches seem to be wicked sort of oil in singular sort of tall torch, almost candlesticks. Um, uh, they are made of metal, which is the first time you've seen metal except for the dagger on Ryul's hip. And it has sort of an almost perfumed kerosene like aroma to it as it burns. And the rest of the room just seems to be hewn rock with a faint bluish green glow to it. But as you kneel, Garrett, she leans down and looks at you, and she actually, hmm, Did the aboleth give you trouble? And she stands back up and she looks at Mary Garden. And she sort of squints. And Mary Garden, she gets very close to you. How tall are you?
5'7".
Okay, so she's only maybe an inch or two taller than you. Um, we see her bare feet exposed as she strides the 2 steps to cover the distance, and she gets like right here, really investigating you.
And Mary Garden's barefoot too.
And yeah, I think she probably, as she's looking you over, we just sort of see like all your little toesies, and she looks back up and she says, "You, you're not quite what you deign to be, are you?"
She gives a brief curtsy that's kind of coy,
Sure.
and without a word, she reaches back to the pot that she has with the aboleth brain in it, and pulls it forward, and opens the lid as if to show her, and says, "It's valuable for certain rituals. Perhaps you will not."
She looks down and smirks and says, "It is few who can encounter such a creature and not fall to its charms and whims." And she says, "Come, both of you, sit with me. We have much to discuss. While I am able to divine much, I cannot divine everything." And she strides back over towards the brazier, which is raised up on a small dais, and she sits in front of it on the same side as you guys. But there are no chairs in here. There is, however, a runner, which seems to be made of this same sort of mycelial fabric that runs the length of this structure. She sits on the middle stair and gestures for the two of you to essentially have a seat on the rug in front of her.
One more quick knowledge question.
Sure.
Based on the tactical situation of the Drow invading the Feywild, as explained to us by the Mercenary Guild, and based on our knowledge of where we are and where the enemy is, like what areas they control, or what we know anyway, would we consider this city to be in danger, in imminent danger, in eventual danger?
Yeah, so you would absolutely know that, and the answer is fundamentally no. And the reason for that is that it seems like the Drow are moving en masse. And so the number of Drow who have pressed out into the Feywild, who've taken Eastport, who have really started to overrun tremendous sections of what is now the Feywild on the planet of Tierra. We're talking about cities and cities worth of Drow, and so you're sort of at the cusp of the territory controlled by the Drow, and it seems like for the most part they are moving up and out. Now,
Keep on the borderlands.
quite literally, and so now that may drastically change with a sort of rear assault, which is what you guys have been sent here to do, is essentially set up shop, be able to do some spying and figure out what the plan is for the Drow and how to undermine it. But by way of tactics, I think that Mary Garten, you would realize very quickly that this place is going to be, if not ground zero, pretty close to it, should the drow find out that the Mercenary Guild is down.
I'm going to ask her: have you? How is this? How have things been in the Underdark in the city? Have you all been struggling with the drow or preparing for their arrival?
She sits very properly and looks down to you. She says, "We do not fear the drow like most do. We are removed enough from their influence that it would take a foolish, if not errant, individual of their type to stumble across our borders. And they would not live long if they were to do so." And she says, "My ancestors fought with the drow, but uh, they were more successful than most and established this city with the blood of many drow." Uh,
What is this city called?
Naor. It's Naejor.
Okay. And what is your name, may I ask? My name is Garrett Silverleaf.
Garrett Silverleaf. I'm Alray Verminor. I'll just copy paste it for you guys.
As Mary Garden approaches to sit in front of her, she digs her toes into the rug and takes a pause, and then a single leg comes up, and she jumps up into the air and folds her legs Indian style in the air and goes straight, like with a boom, with kind of a boom sound.
As you land, it is quite comfortable, especially given the amount of stone beneath you. But imagine a stack of hides cushioning that landing. This dense material almost deadens your fall. As you take your seat, Ore looks over to you and says, "I understand that you were sent here by a powerful cabal."
She's speaking to Mary Garden.
Yeah, but if you either one of you sort of want to interject, you're welcome to.
I think she would defer to Garrett. I think she would kind of purse her lips and give the slightest chin turn to the more experienced drow combatant.
Fair.
We are here to help ensure the freedom of all those who live in the Underdark from the incursions of the drow.
There's a very long pause where Mary Garden turns and looks back at the priestess and goes, "Yes."
Yeah.
She may be down here to harvest some oogie googies, and she's like that.
Yeah, and that.
Yeah. I think that initially her take on this is with obvious hesitation. It's not uncommon for one liberator to quickly become a dominating force, and so for her it is not an insignificant threat that that we're here to save you. um but she is interested in the extent with which you think you can do that. She looks somewhat concerned, raises an eyebrow, and she says, "Huh, I don't think you understand. We're perfectly capable of protecting ourselves from the drow. Plus, it seems that their interests lie elsewhere."
Where would you say the drow are most interested?
She says, Um, let's look together, shall we? And she reaches behind her, and you would swear that any other person picking up this brazier would not have a hand by the time she put it back down in front of her. And she seems entirely unmoved by the heat. And she turns around and grabs a small sort of basket, and she grabs up some dust, which is there. You see these beautiful, reflective, almost iridescent flakes, and she takes this dust and begins to sprinkle it over the brazier, and the flames begin to lick upwards, sizzling and popping. But as they do, almost with a crystal ball like nature, the two of you can see a distended image of Drow, and there is what looks like three different huge like elevators almost, and Drow are being like hoisted by these huge bestial creatures upwards into a ring of light overhead. And As they do, we see these beautiful silver helms. Many of these drow have small silver shields and scimitars. Others of them, a small contingent with double bladed scimitars across their backs. And You can see how intricately each one of these pieces of armor and armament are created. And It's a pretty impressive staging area where it looks like they are going topside.
Is there anything in the vision that appears that would give Garrett a sense of where this might be
Yeah,
in the Underdark?
the dead giveaway here is the iridescent blue, like cotton candy blue and pink sky, shimmering with little tendrils of yellow and white, which is very obviously what it looks like when magic is dense in the air, and that is most commonly associated with the Feywild. I'll also say this: y'all are, as members of the Mercenary Guild, more than aware that the western section of the sort of northwesternmost continent in this world was overlapped by the Feywild during the Cataclysm, which caused the overlapping of the planes onto this world. And The western section of the Feywild was uh, is being overwhelmed by darkness as the Drow essentially extract the magic forcibly from this place.
How is it you're able to have such insight into the workings of the drow?
My goddess provides sight beyond sight. And she reaches up and leans her neck back and separates her robe. And you can see a crisscross of black feathers. It looks like they're almost embedded in her chest. Not like they're growing out of it, but like they're part of her. You also, with your previous history checks, you would realize that there is a significant sect of Shadar Kai who associate themselves with the Raven Queen.
Okay.
What do I know about the values of the Raven Queen?
The Raven Queen. The Raven Queen is inherently neutral. Uh, Her main claim to fame is being an influence against the undead. Her belief and the belief of those who follow her is that you get one shot, one opportunity, and if you didn't think Eminem was an adherent, then you weren't paying attention. Um, and if you die, you die. And whoever your soul belongs to at that point is who they go to. She's not quite, one would say, lawful because she works by her own set of laws. But fundamentally, her take is that the line between life and death should not be toyed with, and that it is an unfortunately thin line between those two things. Yeah.
As a cleric of Saloon, would I know, um, sort of their disposition towards my goddess and my goddess's disposition towards
Yeah,
the Raven
Saloon
Queen?
is that's the moon goddess, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
and known by a few names, including Sehanin in these games. There's a there's a few things here that you know, and I'll just offer them up as they come to mind. The first is that Saloon uh, is one of the main reasons that the Drow are the Drow. When that ancient group of elves broke away from the sort of greater elven society and revolted. She was one of the deities that drove the Drow into the Underdark. And that was about 5,000 years ago, give or take a decade. Um, and the As to relationship, there's a pretty good one between the two of them. So much so that it was rumored an adherent of the Raven Queen gave up her life and her physical corporeal body to bring her back, Saloon, that is. and in an effort to fight against Tiamat.
All right.
So they're on pretty good terms.
They're like they text each other.
They
They
talk.
send
It's
emojis.
it's one of those, like, we might not talk for a year, but when we do, it's as if we never parted.
Like, girl, I love what you're doing
Yeah,
with your hair
yeah,
now. That kind of stuff.
yeah. They get together on the moon.
Yeah.
And Saloon and Sarah and Ray, they're a thing. They're a couple. Um, speaking of clerics who give up their lives to bring back a deity, uh, and yeah, but they're on better than good terms.
Okay. I will thank her and thank you and for sharing the strength of your goddess. Um, as you know, I am a priest of Saloon, and part of my um, part of why I'm down here is to continue to fight back the Drow from you know incursions into the upper world and from enslaving more people in the Underdark.
She nods to you. And you actually hear a muffled gasp from the back of this small temple. And you can, I don't know if you turn around to look, but Raul is essentially back there, amazed that she would even give you that much respect.
Okay.
She looks back at the two of you, and she says, "Because of your goddess, and because of your strength and insight," as she looks to Mary Garten, I will help you. I will aid in your attempts to beat back the drow, as it were. But I have a request. Um, my people must be protected. If harm were to befall my city, our rage and the reciprocity visited upon those responsible would be significant. And the when she says significant, you actually see both the illumination of the brazier and the torches behind you diminish. And she leans forward and she says, "Promise this, or you will not leave the Underdark alive."
I will do everything, including give my life to protect your city.
I don't know what's up with your mic, but it sounds so far away.
Oh yeah, can you hear me better?
That's better.
She says, "All my powers shall be mobilized to stop those who will harm the city."
Um, She looks to each of you and nods briefly, and then looks back past you to Raul, who walks forward, his head bowed low, and Raul sort of taps Garrett on the shoulder to just be like, "Come on, let's go." And then he does not touch Mary Garden, however. But his the message is pretty clear that y'all have had your time here with Ra, and he'll be the one to carry out her orders.
We will take our leave of you. Thank you for your graciousness and your friendship.
She nods and says, "My graciousness costs nothing, but my friendship, you know the price of that." And she scoops up her brazier and stands and turns around. And she sets this brazier on top of an altar on this raised platform. And you see her begin to do more incantations over it. As you are led from the temple, it's like. It's like something out of a movie. You guys step out of this temple, and there's just face after face after face after face after face after face. They're like people like looking around corners, like, who the fuck are these two fools?
I'd like to actually leave the temple by casting levitate on myself in the Indian style sitting position.
Okay.
It's a second level spell, and I float sideways. I'm not sideways. I float in the Indian style position next to Garrett.
Okay. As you exit, Raul is holding this curtain aside, and he tries to, but the people are far too curious, especially now that they see you levitating, and another individual who looks very much like an assassin, and Garrett, you see a child. They're probably 8, and they stride up to you, not knowing the meaning of fear. And they look almost straight up at you and squint, trying to examine your face beyond this hood. And you hear this soft voice saying, "Are you an assassin?"
Not to my friends.
And he turns around and says, "I told you, so I told you." And you see 2 kids, 2 structures away, as they dive back behind the building. And they turn back around and look up at you and say, "I'm going to be an assassin one day." And then they turn and run back towards their friends, giggling with excitement.
Kids.
Raul says, "They shouldn't be encouraged to pursue such things."
In the wake of us walking, I cast Mage Hand,
Okay.
and I toss it a couple of stones, and it starts juggling the stones in midair behind us.
Roll me a performance check, please.
Okay. Nat 20.
Okay, very good. Yeah, there's a pretty significant gasp from a chunk of the crowd here, and they are wowed by this. But very quickly, you hear sing sing, and as you do, you see just sort of 2 quick sparks, as those 2 rocks are knocked from the mage hand, and you see 2 daggers as you look back over your shoulder stick into a wall. And as that happens, you look to your left, and what's do you have what's your passive perception?
Passive.
Yeah.
18.
My passive perception is 10. My passive investigation is 19.
Okay. As you look over, you swear you know where these came from. And Garrett, you almost go to the bow, but as you look down a corridor, you do not see anyone. But you do still see these daggers buried into one of these structures, and yeah, it's pretty impressive that someone could throw two daggers that quickly, that accurately, and not hit anybody in the crowd that was looking on at the same time.
But I think it came down. It came down from that corridor.
You have an idea where it came from, for sure.
Okay. I'm going to vigilant blessing so that I have advantage on any initiative and whenever I have to roll, whenever it is, we have to roll initiative. And I'm going to start down that corridor looking for tracks.
Mary Garden takes a pinch of unicorn horn dust and speeds after him.
Okay. As you zip down the corridor, and as Garrett, you what does it look like? Is it a spell? Or is it just sort of an ability?
It's ability from Twilight Domain that I can tap. I can get advantage or give somebody advantage on initiative, and it stays in effect until I
So
bestow it on someone else.
Visual.
No.
Okay.
No.
Maybe it's like the Witcher's eyes in the dark when he takes the elixir.
Can't. And I don't know that we still don't know that we would see it. In that case.
And I'm stealthing as I am headed down the corridor.
As the two of you head down the corridor, you hear Raul. Oh god. Sort of resigned. And we see him as the two of you dash on, as he draws these two daggers out of the wall. And they seem a relatively simple but well balanced design, with a fuller running through the middle on each side of the blade, and sort of a thin, almost stiletto like design. He looks over the blades, which are not covered with poison, and as he sort of turns them, the thin cross guard with two little rubies, one on either side, glint a thin light across his face, and he goes, "Why are they like this?" As the two of you are pursuing this individual, can I get investigation or survival checks from you, please?
It's 21 for me.
20 investigation.
Okay. As you dart through these structures, there's sort of a row of buildings closest to this boulevard, and then there's sort of alleyways between each of them, and another alley that sort of runs behind these structures before stairs lead upward to these various other tiers of homes, mostly. But you see, Mary Garton, you see what's really weird, you didn't see any footsteps on the ground at first. But as you made your way to the step, you can see that at the top of them, there's sort of a single smear of rock and sand, which tells you that they headed to the right. And as you follow and sort of anticipate their next move, Garrett, you look down and then up, and as you look, you see a figure. They are thin and relatively short, and you can see that even with their cloak and cowl, they are a very slight individual. But they're standing out in the open on top of one of the buildings.
Okay.
And I think
How far away?
very quickly, you see them as well. 60 feet,
Okay.
not very
Pretty close.
far. Yeah, they seem to be standing somewhat defiantly.
In that case, I cast Hold Person.
Okay.
And
what does that look like in this environment?
You see her reach out with one hand as if to grab someone and bare her teeth as you hear "Ooh," and levitate drops since it's concentration also. And she and she really, as she's casting it, it's a dark kind of cast. She screws up her face and tries to basically. I like the idea that she's reaching into their spine to pinch it so that they can't move, like from a distance.
Sure,
like
sure. Yeah, I like that.
So that's a save of some kind, wisdom saving throw.
Okay. So 24 is probably going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. As you reach and try and tap in, the good old fashioned spinal tap. There's a sort of an emptiness in that space, and as you try and concentrate even more, what ends up happening is both of you see this visage start to sort of shimmer and dissipate, and then Mary Garton, you feel a dagger right behind your ear. And you hear shh, shh, shh.
As the creature phased out, there was a growl that escaped her throat, and then just frustration. And then she turns to Garrett right before that.
Easy. This is in Undercommon. Do you speak Undercommon?
She does not.
Garrett, you hear easy now. And Mary Garton, you also feel a hand. Are you wearing armor, like traditional armor?
No, as a wizard, she wears no armor.
Okay. Cowl, cloak. She's gonna essentially grab you by the collar, by whatever that is.
I mean, she's wearing like a leotard.
Okay.
Like a ballet leotard.
Then she's probably just gonna grab your shoulder on the other side.
She has those rings. She has those rings that are around her neck, metal rings.
Then okay, yeah, she'll go ahead and grab you by a cluster of those, making a soft tinkling sound. And she's gonna keep that little dagger right here behind your ear. And she's gonna say in Undercommon, "Please don't move. I would hate to thrust poison directly into your brain."
And this person's directly behind me?
She's, just off to your right shoulder, and very close, very close.
I misty step behind her.
Okay. Sweet. As you dissipate from her grasp, can I get a dexterity saving throw,
please? 23.
Okay. I love this. As you behind her, you sort of see where she is first, and are able to gauge where she's going. Essentially, she goes to spin down and try and sweep your feet out from underneath you.
Okay.
But you're able to very quickly dodge that. Okay. And she swirls to her feet backing up, and she produces a second dagger, which she's sort of holding blade side down. And she, you can see now as she swirls, her cowl come off her head. She has sort of dark gray skin. With silvery eyes. Obviously, she is Shadarkai as well. And as she looks up, her hood exposing her face as it falls away, she says, "The two of you are trouble."
So she has jumped 5 feet back.
Yeah, she's sort of moved away. She's disengaged, essentially.
Okay. She has like firebolt prepared in one hand and turns to look at Garrett. How far away from me is he?
Garrett's another 5 feet to the or 10 feet to the left of you.
Okay.
I have my bow drawn
Okay.
and ready to go. I'm going to say an undercommon. Before we kill one another, let's why don't we lower our weapons? Why don't you put your daggers down?
And Mary Garden had said the kind of trouble you don't want in Primordial.
Nice. Let's see if she understands you. She definitely gets the point. Whether she understands primordial or not.
I like the idea that it's a hissy type language, almost like the snake language in Harry Potter.
I like that. I like that a lot. She looks back and forth between the two of you, and she says, she looks to Garrett actually and says, "I think your friend might have just threatened me, but I also think that if you'll leave this city, I could be of some use to you. We might all be able to get what you want."
What is it you think we want?
As you ask that question, you see Rael catch up behind the two of you, and he says, "Darling, I've told you so many times that just because new people come here, they are not immediately a threat to us." And as if a angsty teenager, she looks back and she drops her. She's still in her hands. She drops her hands to her side, holding her daggers, and looks at him and says, "These people are different. You know that these people bring trouble with them." And he steps forward and he starts to put his hand on Mary Garton's shoulder to try and have her drop the firebolt. But before he has a chance to do so, he thinks better of it. But he does reach over and put his hand on Garrett's shoulder, and then he sort of turns around and backs up between the two of you, and then between the two of you and this woman. And he says, "Please, excuse my daughter. Laisha is not as hospitable as most of us. Her grace seems to run out." And he turns around and looks at her far too quickly. And he seems very stern with her, but from your positions, you can see she is still quite defiant.
Okay.
She lowers the firebolt and sort of softens her fight stance in response to realizing that he knows her and probably has some control.
And I'll lower the bow.
As the two of you lower your bows, Raul turns around and looks to the two of you, and he says, uh, "Perhaps my daughter can use her nervous energy for more valuable endeavors." And he turns and looks at her, and he says, "She will lead you where you need to go." And even though she doesn't really want to express it, you can see this like look of defiance soften into a smile of enthusiasm. And then you see Raul as he pulls out those two daggers and hands them back to her. And you hear him softly say, "At least there weren't poison on them these this time." And you see him hand back those two daggers.
Fairy Garden, at the announcement that she'll be our guide, gives this. She's got her hands up still, and she throws her head back in this like sing song, but like terrifying cackle with a burst of flame from her fingertips from the stored up fire bolt that she just has to release somewhere. Just goes straight up into the rock in the ceiling, and blocks of rock fall off. And that's it.
Um, yeah, as the two of you are essentially um, introduced now, Laecia steps around from behind her father. She's about 5'2" and very slight. The cloak, even as little as it does to make her seem larger, does make her seem a little larger. But when she steps forward and shrugs the cloak off of her shoulders, you can see she's like beanpole thin. She is also fucking strapped. She has got the two large daggers, which she puts away. And then you see her stow the two stiletto daggers on some sort of hilt on her back. She also has a sword with a very wide curved blade. It looks like a scimitar, except that you can tell both sides of the blade are sharpened. So it also has a hook-like quality to the back of the blade, and it almost seems to be adhered to her hip with a magnet, as it almost floats against her body. And you also see on each of her ankles two smaller stiletto daggers, each with ruby pommels.
Okay, I'm going to say to her an undercommon sort of, not jokingly, but like sort of trying to be conciliatory.
Lighten the mood.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something like, so, looks like somebody is eager to kill some drow.
She smiles, and you see Raul sort of rub his worry lines. Um, very enthusiastic, unfortunately, and she beams with pride. She, now that her cloak has been removed, she is bald. Dark gray skin, somewhat mottled, almost like a wet granite. And But she looks at you with these silvery eyes and just murderous intent. She's ready to kill somebody. And I don't know that it actually matters who, given her general disposition.
And she's an angry teenager.
She's an angry teenager who wants to do a murder.
All right. Well, let's put that energy to good use. I'll say to her father, we'll take good care of her. Don't worry.
He says, "Oh, I'm not worried about her." And we then see sort of inside of Raul and Laicia's home a map being unrolled onto a table. Small blue mushroom like lanterns softly illuminating this space. And as you look down, you can see a series of tunnels that have been pretty like detailed mapped. And you also see three smaller rolls, which look instead of the overview at the topography of these caves, and you can see that they go for miles and miles and miles, and we could just go on all day. But yeah, instead of repeating the Who songs all night, I'll just say that you get a more than cursory understanding of where you are, and how to get to the edge, at least of the Drow controlled cave systems.
Okay. I'm going to say to her, do you want to lead the way?
Um, she looks back at Garrett, and she says, "I sure as hell wouldn't let you." And she turns and picks up a pretty sizable backpack. I mean, like Appalachian Trail hike style backpack. It is also made of this sort of like mushroom leather material, and quite sturdy. But she quickly doffs her cloak, puts on this backpack, which probably weighs as much as she does, and then goes to drape her cloak back over it. And she looks to the two of you and says, "Try to keep up, will you?" And she looks to her father, and says, "Try not to let the city fall in my absence, Father," and strides out the door. You can see the look on Raul's face. He is not enamored with her attitude.
All right. Garrett's kind of tickled with it. He just finds the whole interaction entertaining and just her general teen crankiness amusing. So he's gonna follow behind her.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, Mary Garden does take up the rear, I think.
okay. As you go to leave, you see again Raul. He reaches for just a moment. I'm sorry, pardon. And he sort of like nods and half bows to you. He says, "Here, in case you find yourself overwhelmed," and he hands you a it's a rod. It's maybe about 10 inches long, about yay big around, and it seems to be capped with two uh, like bronzy looking metallic ends to it.
Okay.
What is it?
It's essentially a bomb. But yeah, it's a concussive magnesium rod, and so anything that's sensitive to light will have to make a Constitution saving throw.
Flashbang.
It's a flashbang grenade.
Sweet.
Yeah. And as you make your way back out, their house is about 3 tiers up, which is actually one of the lower tiers. Now, the farther up you go, the more you realize how significant this cave structure is, and how many people live in the walls of these caves. and you see Laecia as she makes her way down this corridor. That there are once she gets down to the main street, there are still people out looking, and you hear her curse. It's actually a you can understand sort of the inflection, Garrett, but you're not familiar with what the curse is that she says. But you do see people as they scramble sort of back into the alleyways or into their homes as the two of you make your way onto the main street. Uh,
Okay.
and as you do and sort of look to the right, you can see Ra. She's standing in front of this temple, and she's holding a small black bauble in her hand. And she smiles as she sees Laecia and says, "Of course, you'd be the one taking them into the darkness, wouldn't you?" And she sort of shakes her head with an entire lack of surprise. And she says, "Here, take this blessing from the Raven Queen. May she watch over you and guide your path." And you see Laecia take this little sphere of black and stare into it for a moment. And we can almost see the mirrored image of her twisted over that sphere as she smiles and says, "Thank you, Mother." And she slips it into a pouch on her belt and then turns around and looks to the two of you and smiles with enthusiasm. And Ra looks to the two of you as well and says, "Is there anything else we can do to aid you as you scout the edge of our lands?"
Nothing that your generosity has already been overwhelming.
Um, she nods and then looks to Mary Garton expectantly.
She gives a nod and turns and follows the daughter.
Uh, as the two of you stride now, following Laecia past this temple, we see Ra as she reaches down and plucks one of those feathers from her chest, and then swirling it allows it to rise up out of her hand, and it begins to dissipate into little radiant sparkles. Um, you're gonna have some time here. It's it's not fast going through these caves. In fact, where as you progress, it is quite evident that any pathways more than a few hundred yards from the city itself have been made impassable. Maybe not impassable. They've just been somewhat ruined. It seems like stalactites and stalagmites have been dropped, specifically making traversing these areas difficult. And you can see that Laecia has a pretty easy time at it. And it doesn't take very long for the two of you, as keen as you are, to realize that she has traversed these paths quite frequently and has them down uh, just memorized. She moves very easily over stone as if unencumbered, which is pretty impressive because she also does have like a 90-pound backpack on.
Okay.
But it goes like this for a while. It is still slow going. You can make a lot of you can cover a lot of ground with that ground going like this and twisting back and forth through stalagmites and crawling over a few of them. Even having to leap, there's a point at which y'all sort of make your way up to the top of a sheared off stalagmite. And you see Laecia, and she backs up 2 steps and then runs, and you see her leap over a waterway to another sheared off stalactite, about 12 feet from edge to edge over this ravine that sort of cuts down. Probably the same water that made its way to the pool where you saw the aboleth, and then onward deeper into the Shadowfell. Y'all pretty dexterous, right? You can jump. Make a 12-foot jump, right?
Not a problem.
I have 12 strength, so I can make a 12-foot jump.
Okay. Roll me athletics or performance. Let's just see how well it goes for you.
Ironically, I rolled a 12.
I got a 20.
Okay. Garrett, you very quickly make the leap with ease. And at the last second, Mary Garden, you are in your mind quite sure-footed. So much so that it almost looks like if the rock hadn't broken out from underneath your foot, that you would have simply strode across this opening. But before your foot slips more than a few inches, your other one catches, and your left arm is grabbed by Laecia. And she pulls you in and looks at you with just a small measure of disdain, and she goes, which is barely audible over the sound of that piece of rock clattering down the side of the stalactite, and then bouncing back and forth between the ravine, and then splashing into the water below.
Took.
And it's definitely not as cacophonous as a bomb would be, but you do see her ears sort of perk up, almost turning with a canine-like manner to them. The musculature that and sensitivity that she has, more than impressive. And then she says, let's move now, please. And she turns and takes another couple of steps and leaps from this stalagmite to the next. And you see her as she holds on to the side of it, slide down a pretty precipitous angle to a pathway below, which too has been sort of crisscrossed with broken stalagmites. Can I get perception? Sorry, can I get
Perception
perception?
check?
Yeah, from both of you, please.
Yeah, 1.
22.
Okay. I Garrett, I think as you go to make that leap, you hear the rustling like linens in the wind. And you realize that something is drifting down towards you. And just as you realize that, How's a 24 versus your armor class, Mary Garten?
So interesting question is, do you need to know something's coming to cast shield?
Yes, I think you have to see it.
Mm.
I'm not sure, but I feel like that was a.
It doesn't. Oh, wait a minute. I shouldn't say that, but I think that makes sense. And it says one reaction which you take when you are hit by an attack or targeted by the magic missile spell.
Hmm.
But no, 24 would hit.
Okay. Yeah, I think you got to know it's coming. I'm surprised that that's not
I would think so
in the
because
spell.
it's a shield, right? It's not an undoing of damage that's already happened. So it's
Right.
like you prevent something from striking you.
It's going grab you here. Oops, those are the wrong dice. I need bigger dice than that. That's not bad. You're gonna take 11 piercing damage, and are whisked off of your feet.
What hit me?
Well, it still got you, because you feel these piercing talons.
I was grabbed by something.
In your shoulders, and
Okay.
lifted up, quite brusquely. And as you are, Garrett, you see this right past you. It is a pterodactyl-like bird, it seems, and has found its next meal in Mary Garten. Mary Garten, you are restrained and are dangling in the air. Let's roll for initiative. And since we didn't use it, let's just go ahead and keep with your initiative bonus, Garrett.
Mm-hmm. 30.
You're gonna beat a 30 there, Mary Garten?
16.
Okay. Well, Garrett, it's your turn. What would you like to do as you see Mary Garten sort of dragged up and off of this stalagmite?
No, I can't do that. So is it still close to the ground?
No. Well, you guys aren't
Okay.
actually close to the ground. You're about 30 feet up from the base of this stalagmite, and these stalagmites sort of drop away towards a pathway, still again ruined by other stalagmites and stalactites, which have been dropped down to block points of egress and ingress. So it is up in the air, and let's see how far.
Is it a large sized creature?
Yeah, sure is. Sure
Okay.
is.
It's going to be carrying her off. It should be. Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and draw my bow and try to bring this sucker down.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a 10, and I'm going to use precision shot to add some to try to be successful. So 10 plus. Okay, that's 12.
12 total.
Yes.
That's not going to.
That's not good. Okay, second arrow
Okay.
is a 20.
That is going to hit.
And then my third attack, because it's the first round of combat,
Yep.
is a. What is that? Oh, it's a nat 20.
Ooh. That's exciting.
So the first arrow does 19 points of damage.
Okay.
And then the second arrow is it's everything is maxed out. Plus, I roll a d8 again for crits.
It's just going to be the 2d8 maxed, so 16 plus whatever your bonus to damage is, plus any other additional dice maxed.
34 plus. So 45 plus 19, so 64 points of damage.
Right. Amazing. Sweet. Mary Garden, can I get a acrobatics or athletics check from you, please?
Sure.
Since this thing just got hit for a lot of damage.
15 acrobatics.
Okay. Sweet cheese. And now can I get a dexterity? Well, actually, let's do this. You're going to be able to get out of this thing's claws. What do you want to do? Where do you want to be? Do you want to get free?
Or do How high off the ground? How high off the ground is it taking me?
You are maybe 10 to 15 feet currently up over the spires of these stalagmites, which stand about 30 feet, give or take, from the base of the ground. So that's plus there's other small spiny things down here. Not you. I mean, I don't think you want to.
Do you want to rule that I still have my haste from the nose step from the unicorn horn?
Nah,
similarly?
that unfortunately is going to be.
What was the duration on it?
I think it's a minute. It's been it's been hours.
Haste is a minute. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, in that case,
but it was great. It was a good high. Woo.
I'm just gonna use my. I still have a second level spell slot left. I'm gonna Misty Step. Can I Misty Step to basically grab onto the side of one of the spires?
Yeah.
It's just stone rock,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it's just rock.
So I will do that, and then
slippery.
Yeah, do you need to roll?
Nah, it's fine.
And then she'll look back up and firebolt at the bird.
Okay.
It's a 25 to hit.
That's gonna hit.
$19 fire damage, almost a max roll.
Love it. So close. Yeah. As that firebolt lights up, what's y'all's passive perception?
And 18.
Okay. Garrett, with even though you've got 330 feet of dark vision, it's still shades of grays and blacks. With the illumination from that firebolt, however, it sort of expands both your puppers. It expands both your vision by way of depth, but you also see things that were not otherwise visible to you. You see a tremendous lizard-looking creature, a shotel or oxalotl, if you'd like to pronounce it incorrectly. There's and it is just sort of like adhered flat to a huge stalactite. It too seems like it was hunting. You also see a number of insectoid creatures There's one that looks like a spider that is just, again, sort of like they've adapted to just flatten themselves against these structures and grab anything that may come by. And you see other sort of beetle-like creatures skitter back into little holes, terrified by that light. And as you witness this, you also hear Laisia as she shouts up, "You idiots! No, don't! No, you can't use light. It'll bring them here." And she produces a hand crossbow and is going to take a shot at this thing as well, and misses horribly with the first shot, but gets it with the second one, and that's going to be another 10 on that. And she says, "Come on, hurry up, kill this thing and let's go already." And then it is this guy's turn. And it is going to sort of pitch around. And as it does, it is going to try and give Mary Garton some more lovin'. You are going to see it this time, but I don't think 15 is going to hit you, is it?
No.
Okay. It sweeps past you, tries to bite you, and it probably is going to get you with a 25 to hit.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to try and grab you again. Can I get a strength saving throw?
11. Fucker.
Yeah. You're going to take 16 points of damage as its talons, man, just back into your shoulders again. It does sort of lose its grip on one side, which really screws up the other shoulder. And we're going to go back to the top of the order here. And Garrett, it is your turn again. What would you like to do? This thing is about 60 feet away from you. It's actually coming back towards you right now.
Okay. I'm going to cast Zephyr Strike with my bonus action.
Okay.
And then attack with my longbow.
Okay.
And Zephyr Strike. So it's a 21.
Okay.
So I think it's on one attack I get an extra D8 of force damage.
Nice.
So, okay, so let me just do both attacks first. So it's a 21 and a 20.
Both of those would hit.
Okay, so the first one does 20 plus 20 piercing and 3 force damage.
Okay.
And the second arrow does a whopping 26 maximum damage.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let's see how this guy's doing. He's struggling, but he's still got a hold of Mary Garton. Mary Garton, you are in the air. You're actually about to whiz right past your buddy Garrett. He's on the stalactite or stalagmite right over there.
Okay. She said not to use fire, so am I going to take damage from the talons every turn?
No.
Okay. I'm going to use choke.
I say that unless it tries to grab you again and succeeds.
Yeah.
But you're not going to take on guard damage.
No. I'm going to use the Sanguine Kiss feature, which allows me to attack with a dagger as a bonus action.
Okay.
So with my bonus action, I make a dagger attack, and it rolls a dirty 20.
Hey, that's definitely going to hit.
And I get to add half my wizard level in damage. So 10 damage.
Love it. Okay.
And with my action, the point of that was to hit it with chill touch.
Okay.
So normally I would take some damage from using. And I critted on chill touch.
Ooh.
So that's interesting because that means the damage actually would be 68 necrotic because it doubles it.
Woo. And maxed out.
Oh, it's just max 60, so 48?
Yeah.
Okay, 48 necrotic.
Sweet. Do you have proficiency in flying vehicles?
I do not.
Interesting. Very, very interesting to me. I think with that much damage, I think it's very apparent to you that this thing is sort of seized up as you've just extracted far more than what was left of its life force out of its body. But you're starting to sort of pitch a little to the left, which is the one talon that's still hanging onto your right shoulder.
Yeah.
So
Can I attempt to steer it down?
Oh, I would love for you to, more than anything in the world.
Okay. What the hell do I roll?
I would love to average out an animal handling and sleight of hand check.
Animal handling, I rolled a 17, and I have no bonuses.
That's not insignificant. All right.
And sleight of hand, 17.
Okay, great. Yeah. How do you want to steer this thing? I think you just reach out, grab the other claw, and realize that while it's still sort of like pinched into your right shoulder,
I'm paragliding. You know,
yeah, exactly.
I'm paragliding.
Yeah, you essentially have a pterodactyl paraglider right now.
Yeah, I'm paragliding a pterodactyl down to the ground, and you know, I'm suddenly super excited because I know I'm going to cut these fuckers' talons off and take them with me.
They are big. I mean,
yeah.
Go like this. They're bigger than that.
Yeah.
Where would you like to land? Laecia has sort of made her way down to where these sort of crisscross destroyed stalagmites are closer to what used to be a path through here. And
down towards her, like a few feet from her.
Okay. Yeah, I think sort of we see her look as you go swooping. We see her silver eyes looking up into the darkness, absolutely mesmerized by you riding this thing down and gracefully landing step before this thing. You finally sort of catch your footing, and this thing just sort of like crashes forward into the ruined stalagmites on the ground in front of
and you just see her beaming with a smile. Like she pulls her dagger out, and very happily begins to saw off the talons. You know.
I absolutely love that. Roll me a survival or arcana check, please. So good.
12 arcana.
Okay. Give me just a second.
I have a +9, but I rolled a 3.
Okay. you're gonna get a couple of the talons. You're not
Okay.
like you're gonna get a couple of the sort of claws of the
Yeah.
talon. But as you go to sort of extract the ones out of your shoulder, this thing almost seems to break down into an ashen paste. But you do get two of these little hooked toes, and they're really not going to have a whole lot of alchemical power.
Okay.
They if perhaps you had not so thoroughly extracted the life out of this thing, there could have been some sporulation you could have made use of, but too far
Might it
gone.
does it act as a special kind of dagger or anything like a +1 dagger or anything like that?
No, it's really more of a trophy,
Okay, that's cool too.
and someone might pay for it. A handful of gold.
She is
A
gonna take.
novelty.
What would you say is the diameter of maybe the midpoint of the tower?
So it's hooked. I'd say it's probably the talon itself is probably about 8 inches long, curved,
Yeah.
and at its thickest point is probably only about 2 inches wide.
So it could be about an inch at its midpoint.
Yeah, about the middle would be about an inch, and then it tapers off, and it is very sharp.
So she looks at it and she studies it very carefully, and then she reaches over and she takes two of her gauges out
Nice.
and she threads the
Fucking
claws
Yeah,
through the
there you go.
holes in her ears,
That's-
and they fit perfectly.
I love it. I fucking love it. Add +1 to your intimidation, please.
Cool. And she turns and looks at, I forget the daughter's name,
Laisha.
and her stern and terrifying demeanor kind of falls, and like it's like a girl looking at her friend in the dressing room and like, what do you think?
Having been that friend in the dressing room more times than I can count, I get it. Yeah. She's a bit disturbed at first. I mean, I don't know how many people you've seen fly a pterodactyl, a dead one, mind you, through a number of stalactites and stalagmites, and then land uninjured on the ground, and then claim its talons as jewelry. It's I'd say, pretty rare feat.
I turn and look back, looking for Garrett approaching us from wherever he was.
Yeah, Garrett, you witness all of this from up on the stalagmite, and could make your way down pretty easily. But I will say this: as you do, you begin to feel from that stalagmite a vibration.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Not a good vibration.
No, the exact opposite of a good vibration. A bad vibration.
Coming from the stalactite or nearby, do I have any sense of where the vibration's coming from?
It's probably coming from the wine glass I'm drinking.
Ah.
Sontag. Roll me a survival check, please. Ooh, that's nice.
And so 19 plus 4, 23.
200 feet. Closing fast.
I look in the direction. Can I see anything?
No.
Oh, so maybe it's from underground. I yell down to Marigot and say, we need to get out of here now.
Yeah, she looks, and it doesn't take much longer for you to notice this as well, Mary Garden. As Laecia says, shit.
I I say, can we run?
Let's find out. And you see her. She doffs her backpack and quickly grabs like the top section of it and pulls it, and it comes loose from the rest. And you see her sling it over her shoulders. Much smaller, maybe 15, 20 liter bag out of the 60 or 70 that she had before. And you see her just boom, take off like a rocket.
We take off to actually I take a little bit of the dust and take off after him.
Okay.
So double my moves, it's like a 60-foot move speed basically for a minute.
Magnificent.
And I still have Zephyr Strike, which adds
Yes, you
30
do.
to my walking speed as
Jeez,
well.
amazing. Okay. This may be easier than I think Laecia is going to expect of you. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, let's see here. What's their movement speed? Okay. So with a double move, Garrett, you're going to be at 120. With a double move and haste, you're probably the same, right?
120,
Mary
yeah.
Garden. Okay. And let's see here with a. This is going to be interesting because I think you guys are going to outpace Laecia. And from Mary Garden, as you move, it's pretty evident that you are under the influence of unicorn horn. There's a shimmering sort of like crushed pearl effect streaming behind you. And I don't know if that's as visible during with your Zephyr strike, Garrett. What is that? Do we see anything besides you just moving fast?
No, just moving fast.
You're not going to do the Sonic the Hedgehog spin?
No, nothing like that.
Wow, that's a good one. As the two of you are just booking it, you are still having to get over a lot of these ruined rocks, and y'all get about 500 feet. You sort of curve up and to your left through this corridor, and as you see the room start to sort of turn up and to the right again, you hear that rumble and can feel it underfoot getting much closer. And as it does, you see Laecia, or actually you don't because you guys are running ahead. We see Laecia's face with a look of terror. And then y'all hear an explosion from behind you. And very quickly, the space in here begins to glow with a molten rock color, this deep red. And you, as the calcified sort of stone rains down in here and the dust starts to settle, you see an absolutely ridiculous gargantuan worm. And it is covered with huge black scales. If you guys have ever seen, what are they called? The lava snails. It's got that same sort of like iron carapace body. And underneath the scales, you can see the red magma-like quality of its body, and it looks out and it's gonna try and barb you guys. Its friend Barb came to town. Garrett, how's a 17 versus your armor class?
Right on the dot.
Hey, fantastic. Um, it lunges forward, and one of these barbed tentacles lashes out. And can I get? Oh no, you start out being grappled. That's exciting. You're gonna take 19 points of mixed piercing and fire damage,
Mm.
and you are grappled. And the this sort of like barbed tentacle, it just sort of whips around you, but as it tightens, that's when you just feel the just and the searing heat almost pouring into you. And a 24 versus Mary Garton's armor class.
That's gonna hit.
Okay. You're going to get a similar treatment. And that is going to be 17 points of mixed piercing and fire damage. And you're grappled. And then the question is,
I'm gonna use absorb elements. How much
Okay.
is the fire?
that would have been 6, so you take 6 less points, I guess.
Okay.
And it's going to try and bite you, which is going to be bad. That's a 23 to hit.
On also Mary Garden?
Yep.
Can I use a reaction, or do I not have a reaction?
No, you should be good.
All right, I'll throw up shield because that'll save me there.
Okay. It essentially tries to bring you in and chuck you into its mouth. And we see that shield just as you resist that. And I'm gonna keep with the initiative at this point. Garrett, you're up. What would you like to do?
I'd like to try to escape the grapple.
Okay. Can I get an athletics or acrobatics check, please? Yeah.
A 10.
You are now restrained by it, holding on to you. It loves you very much. It wants it wants you inside it. Mostly for culinary
Digestion purposes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mostly.
Is there anything else I can do while I'm grappled? While it's got a hold of me?
You can still attack it. It has a hold of you, but that is like a lash around your body this way. So I think you still will have your action.
Okay. I will attack with my short swords.
Okay.
The 16.
Don't think that's going to get it done, buddy. It's not going to get it done.
Oh, I got a nat 1.
Oh, that's bad. That's not good.
No.
Let's see here. See if he's going to give you. He's going to try and give you a nummy num num. That's going to be a 21 to hit.
That hits.
Okay. He's going to try and give you. I don't have enough dice for this. You're going to take 18 points of piercing damage. And can I get a dexterity saving throw, please?
Oh, It was hanging on the 1, and it turned to a 13. So with the adjustment, a 22.
Okay. This thing unfurls. Part of that damage comes from the barbs as they're sort of dragged against them, and then you sort of hit the edge of this thing's mouth, which is not comfortable at all. But you are able to keep from going right down the gullet. And essentially, you're just hanging on the top lip of this thing as if you were looking straight down into a volcano.
Hmm.
Doesn't look great.
No, does not seem positive.
Yeah. Let's see. Cool. Mary Garten. Sup? This thing's got you in a little grabby Barbie tentacle.
Did it successfully grapple me?
You are currently grappled.
Okay.
If it hits, it grapples. Whether you are fully restrained is what we got to figure out next.
Okay. Well, the nice thing is that I am hasted. This time. Means I actually forgot to update, but it didn't matter to me. Fuck it. I'm going to. Yep, I'm going to use Sanguine Kiss and bonus action Stabby.
Okay.
Doesn't hit, right?
What was it?
10. I will cast with my first action, Immolation, but I'm using here's the exchange.
Okay.
So that means it's going to be up fast. It also means I take 5 damage. And DC 18 dexterity saving throw.
I don't think that. No. No bad. Yeah.
And it's actually kind of cool because I also get to throw a d6 of fire damage at it because of what I blocked on the absorb elements.
Okay.
It's kind of cool. And because I have fire adept, I ignore resistance to fire.
That's impressive.
Shit. I need to get back to the damage. I get to reroll 1s and 2s as well. So that becomes 12. I get the damage. How do I get good? Anyone know where the button is to show me the roll history again?
Should be at the top to the. Actually, I should be able to look it up.
The immolation cast. Are there any 1s or 2s?
I don't see those rolls actually. All I see is Garrett's stuff. You're active here. Let me check. Hang on.
Hey, lady.
It's usually at the top near the area. I don't even see those rolls. They haven't even registered for me.
That's all right. We'll call it 42 fire damage.
Okay. This thing's gonna find that pretty interesting.
And because I get second action, which I can only use on a couple of different things, it'll obviously be a dagger attack. So that's a 21 to hit with.
You
do
get your full action with your haste.
Okay, well that's okay. I'm not gonna do anything else, so I'll stab at it. 21 to hit, 7 damage.
Very good. Now let's see what this thing thinks of that.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it recoils. Can I get a dexterity saving throw with advantage from Garrett, please? It also drops you, Mary Garden.
Cool.
26.
Yeah, with relative ease as this thing starts to rear back up. You see, you just sort of like drop down into the dust and rubble here. And it is now sort of standing up, looking down over the party here. And Garrett, it is your turn. You hear a soft cough from the ruined section of ground before you here, and you start to see dust roll off of Laecia. She was essentially knocked hard against these rocks as this thing rose up out of the ground and was stunned by it. But she is coughing and trying to get her situation remedied as she looks up and you see those silvery eyes in the darkness.
Okay. Bonus action, Hunter's Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will action surge to give me 4 attacks on this guy with my bow.
Hell yeah.
And attack 1 is a 16. I will use my precision shot to add to that.
Wise
Already
choice.
done. 16. It's a 23.
Awesome. That is definitely going to hit.
Okay. Second arrow. 25.
Definitely going to hit as well.
A 25.
Hey. Fuck him all
And
the way up.
and a 9. All right, so 3 hits. So I'll do the arrow damage first. So that's 19 piercing plus 22. So that's 41 plus another 23. So that's 64 plus Hunter's Mark. That's 3d6. So that's a total of 75 points of damage.
Great. Sweet. That's not insignificant. Yeah, we just see as you fire into this thing, chunks of iron start shattering away from its face, exposing a magma like blood, which drips down pools and pools, sizzling against the calcified stone in this space. It rears back and writhes as it is just barraged with these shots. And if it had legs or feet, you would have it on its back foot. But unfortunately, it doesn't have those. So it's going to try and kill you again pretty shortly here. Mary Garten, there's a big bad guy right there. I don't know if you guys happen to see the little picture just for scale.
Oh, let's see.
Picture?
In the chat.
Oh, yeah, that's That's unpleasant.
Yeah.
In which chat?
Google. In the Google Meet chat.
Oh, in here. In here.
Over here.
Oh, a correspond worm. Interesting. Oh, that's a nasty guy.
Yeah.
Dude, it's that big?
Banana for scale. Yeah.
Whoa. What's I'm sorry, what's her name again? Larice?
Laicia.
Laicia. What's she doing? Attacking it?
Not yet. She was stunned. She got a nat 1 on her dexterity saving throw as the thing came up out of the ground. She is starting to. She has now rolled over and is looking up in terror at it, rightfully so.
I will firebolt it then with both my actions. 15 and 20.
15 is gonna miss. The 20 will hit.
Okay. Gonna be 15 fire damage, and once again, it can't out.
Yeah, if this thing had a face, it would be shocked. I
think her firebolts are literally. I love this idea that she spits them or like throws them with her mouth and her hands.
I like that. I like that a lot. So that's both actions.
That's both actions. Yeah.
Bonus action.
Don't. Can I drink a potion with bonus action?
You'll. What kind of potion?
Like a health potion.
Yeah, you'll roll for it, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, part of the gold I spent on graders, or all the gold I spent on graders. So, 44 plus 4, and that's gonna be 12.
Lovely. Very nice. Lacia is going to she's gonna look sort of up at Garrett and then up at this thing, and she says in Undercommon, "I guess we're not outrunning it." And she draws her hand crossbow again. Whew, I was almost a nat 20. And she's definitely going to hit it. Let's see. That's nice. That's very nice. Oh, that's not great. Okay. Okay. 4. Okay. She pulls a hand crossbow, and Garrett, you see that she runs the bolt really quickly through the body of this hand crossbow. Like she slides it in perpendicular and then loads it in and fires up at this thing's mouth and just right down the middle. And as it launches, there's just this acrid aroma in the air. And when it hits, you see sort of a inside of this thing's mouth, and then you see it. It makes this sound as its head writhes back and forth, and you see this plume of purple smoke start to trail around its face. And she loads up another one and takes a shot and hits this thing right as it's turning. Bam! Right down the middle again. And as she does, it's gonna probably do the same thing. She's gonna hurt it. That's better. Okay. Can't forget the D4. And you see another cloud of purple smoke from out this thing's mouth, and it looks very angry, and looks like a couple more stiff breezes might put this thing out of commission. But fortunately, it's this thing's turn, and it is going to lash out. It's going to lash out towards Laisha. And it is going to falter as it got a natural 1 for its attack. Garrett, would you like to make a melee attack against this thing? Or just an
Absolutely.
attack in
Yeah.
general? I think it's going
Yes.
to really give up the... it's going to really telegraph its attack here, unfortunately.
That's a 19 with my longbow.
That is going to hit.
And 22 damage.
Okay. As you attack it, it is going to use its second attack to get you. 23 versus your armor class.
That's a hit.
Okay. It's going to try and get you with one of these tentacles again. It is really struggling. Nope, wrong ones. That is 23 points of piercing and fire damage.
Ouch.
And yeah, it's going to grab a hold of you. Its head, however, is going to sort of hit the ground about 20 feet away from you. And you can see the last little wisps from inside of its mouth of purple smoke from these two bolts. And you hear Laisia sort of squeak with fear, being in front of this mouth like a tunnel through a mountain in front of her, molten red hot. You can feel that the little bits of sweat just searing out of your skin, being so close to this thing. And it's your turn. What would you like to do?
Me? My turn?
You're up.
Okay. Just going to try to bring it down. 2 attacks with my longbow. It's a 9. It's going to miss.
Yep.
And a 19.
19 is going to hit.
And that is 24 plus Hunter's Mark, which I forgot last time. 29 points of damage.
29 points of damage. You boom, right down the middle of this guy. And you see it sort of inhale as your arrows coursing down its gullet. And you can see just like a blast of heat about to pour out of this thing. And then you just see its body sort of collapse in on itself. And there's just the faintest, almost fart of a flame from this thing's mouth. And you see it begin to cool pretty quickly, and it is obviously dead.
I turn to Marigarten and say, "Is there anything off this thing you want to cut off?"
Yeah. So this is a pretty exotic creature. What would I know about what to harvest? Does it have a fire gland or something? Maybe.
Roll me an Arcana check or survival check.
Can I do a survival check too?
Sure, for sure, absolutely.
Nat 20 Arcana 29.
Okay. If you can get to it before it fully cools.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it's also very hot in here.
Can I get Garrett's help by telling him, like, I know right where it is, but you probably have very dexterous hands. Come help me fish it out.
As you're saying that, actually, Laicia, she stands up and says, "Don't." She sort of wipes the white pearlescent calcified rock off of her face, exposing sweat and her dark skin. And she draws her hooked scimitar blade, and you see her invert it with the hook side out. And she strides forward, and you see her hack into sort of the lower section of this thing's jaw, and pry a big trapezoidal chunk of iron out of the way, and then hack down and pull. And as she does, you can see this almost stony looking gland in its lower mandible. It doesn't really have a jaw so much. But it's not insignificant in size. It is about as big as Mary Garton's like upper body.
Okay. How can I transport it? Oh, I know. I have Tensor's floating disc,
Okay.
and I can't.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You can cast Tensor's floating disc.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's size. I mean, like the size of this thing, that's a pretty small gland for it to be only as big as a person's torso.
I go, whoop, and it goes whoop into existence. This little George Jetson floating disc,
Love it.
and I get help from Garrett to lift it up and stick it on the disc. And
Yeah, once that sort of molten flesh is peeled away,
Yeah.
it has a still hot, stony like quality to it. Almost like holding like radioactive material. The heat just like emanating from it. Um, we're gonna have some very interesting times using that for sure. But as you do, you also see that it seems like Laicia has followed suit and is taking a trophy of her own. In fact, a few trophies, as she begins to pry off pieces of iron scale, and you see her sort of like hold one of these. I don't even know what the shape is. Sort of like Superman shield esque shapes. It's more elongated, but essentially it's almost a breastplate on her. And she sort of looks at you with the same like, huh, huh, yes, yeah, huh, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits like a breastplate. Nice.
Yeah, she says, I don't think that if I didn't have this, people would believe that we killed this thing. She sort of shakes her head with awe at having done this. She says, I mean, I'll say this: I've never been stupid enough to call one of these things, but holy shit! What? Who are you people?
And she speaks her abyssal name.
Uh, yeah, her eyes go real big for that. She doesn't understand abyssal, but it's obviously exotic.
Sure.
And she poorly attempts to pronounce it. She's not too far off the mark, but obviously she just doesn't quite have the tongue for it. And she says, "I I think we should probably move on." And she starts to look around, and she says, "I think we're headed. I think we're headed in the right direction." And she continues to sort of wipe the pearlescent dust from her face and trudges forward, sort of leaving the two of you next to this corpse, which is fucking huge.
With a tiny gouged hole with a gland missing.
Yeah. And she continues onward and upward.
We follow.
Yeah, as y'all continue to follow her, it's slow going, and you start to sort of increase your vertical trajectory, and you probably get another mile or two, which takes like an hour or so. And Garrett, you said you've got pretty good passive perception.
Hmm.
Uh,
18.
you begin to see the pouch on her hip glow through the seams of this mycelial leather. You start to see this faint purpley light pour out. And as she continues to walk, you see it get brighter. And a few steps later, it starts to dim.
I make a noise to get her attention and point at it and say it it was just glowing. It's starting to dim as we walk past this area. Maybe you can tell us what it does.
Uh, uh, she looks down. You also notice that as she turns, the bauble starts to increase in illumination. And then as she sort of turns and faces you completely, it begins to diminish a little bit. And she looks down and she pulls on the bag, bringing it closer to her hip. And she reaches in, and as the bag opens, you can see a beautiful deep purple illumination, and in this black sphere. And she looks at it and says, "I'm not quite sure what it does." She says, "Do you?" And she sort of like thrusts it forward towards the two of you. And as she does, it begins to glow brighter.
Hmm.
Do I know why it's glowing?
Roll me an Arcana check, please.
Okay. Do I know what it is? First off, I guess.
Let's.
12.
You don't know what it is. But you roll me an insight check. And if y'all have great passive insight, I'll take that as well.
I rolled an 8. I have a 14 passive insight.
I have a 14 passive insight as well, and I rolled 12.
Okay. It takes a minute, but I'll say this: as you look at this bauble, I mean, it's maybe a 4-inch diameter sphere. Looks like black crystal glass. And it's sort of just emitting from all of its molecules this deep purple light. But as you sort of like look at it and examine it, and as you move, you realize that in one section of this cave, it's glowing brighter than another. And as you move towards the wall to you guys right, it glows and almost to the point that it starts to pulse. And Laisia looks at y'all and says, "What does it mean? What is it trying to tell us?"
Can we search that area and see if there's something that it might be reacting to, or responding to, or detecting?
Roll me an investigation check.
I'm proficient. I can help him.
Okay. Y'all can roll independently.
Why don't?
Or you can.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to help.
Why don't I help? Why don't I help Mary Garden
Okay.
so she can roll with it with advantage?
Very good.
17.
Okay. As you look, at first it doesn't look like there's anything here. It just looks like a wall, just a ribbon of calcified rock in front of you here. It doesn't look like anything at first. But as you begin to sort of examine it, you get to the edge of this wall, and there's like a seam where this calcification is sort of over another layer of already established rock. And you begin to realize that there might be something on the other side.
I start looking around for like a lever or symbols, incantations, text.
Yeah, as you continue to investigate it, it just seems very natural. The even where it meets the ground, it seems to have grown out quite a ways, like a slow waterfall, sort of having come down and then sort of washed out over the floor, many feet. Can I get a nature check from either one or both of you?
13.
19.
Okay. As you start to look it over, Garrett, the calcification is very old. Very old. But Mary Garden, you see a couple of things that look out of place. Most calcification in caves like this takes millions of years. And it has a very dense sort of method of like deposit, little by little by little by little. This material doesn't have that same density. It doesn't look as old as the rest of the rock. It looks a lot newer, and it doesn't have the same level of density, as if it grew at an irregular rate.
Okay, so I tell them that this calcification was artificially grown to artificially accelerated in growth, and it's not nearly as old as the calcification around it.
As you say that, you see Laisha, and she she's starting to like almost hold this sphere right next to the wall. And there's one point in particular where it does start to like this light pulses and throbs. You can see it almost eager. And she looks up to Mary Garden and over to Garrett, and she says, "You might want to stand back." And she pulls this sword from her hip again, and then just begins to like cleave at this wall. And With the first shot, you see the hook of her blade dig into the rock. And as she tries to wrench it loose, you see a big diamond piece of it just break away, and you can see that there is a hole on the other side, maybe 3-4 inches deep. And as she holds the sphere closer to it, it glows even brighter. And She says, "Am I going to have to do this myself?"
I'll pull out my crowbar and help start
Roll me
chipping away at it.
strength or athletics check with advantage, please.
Oh, athletics check. Sorry. Oh, I did a strength check.
Either's fine.
An 18.
Kuchunk. As you wedge that crowbar in and sort of twist upward, a big chunk of this rock breaks away from the floor and the wall, and snaps in two pieces. And straight away, there's sort of a small, sharp archway that leads into abject darkness. And as you look into it, Garrett, it's a little unnerving because you're used to being able to see through darkness. And in this case, literally, like you put your crowbar forward, and the other side of this wall, the crowbar disappears from your view.
Okay.
And Laisha notices this. She looks over and says, "What the hell is that?"
And do I recognize it as magical darkness?
Probably pretty instantly.
Okay. I report to them that it's a magically darkened area. And Dispel, I'd like to cast Dispel Magic. I need to look up. I think Darkness is a level 2 spell.
I believe that that's correct. As you cast Dispel Magic, can I get a Wisdom saving throw, please?
Sure. 23.
Amazing. As you cast Dispel Magic, nothing happens. Well, nothing happens to the darkness. But you have a pretty interesting moment inside your head. Inside your mind, you hear the cawing of ravens. And it is as if
she begins to scowl as it fails, and then the observers would just see her eyes kind of get wide.
Yeah, it feels like there's a couple dozen of them flying around you. You can hear the fluttering of wings, not just through the air, but sort of slapping into one another. They're so densely packed around you. And just barely through the fluttering of darkness, you see a structure in the distance.
I can see that?
Yep. But it's just in your head.
But I think that they see it too.
No, it's very like it's
like
like a second.
It's
later,
like a vision.
Yeah, a second later, you're like,
What's the structure look like?
It's large, multi-tiered. It looks like sort of like a castle, even.
And nothing I've ever seen before.
Probably not.
Okay. Interesting. So we're staring at this opening that's dark. We can't see through it, and I tell the party that I can't seem to dispel this magic. Um, we will have to see what's on the other side.
You see Laisha. She looks at you and says, she actually sort of demurs to Garrett and says, "Gentlemen first."
All right. I will slowly make my way in.
Okay. As you crawl through this opening, you can feel the ground beneath you is pretty sturdy. You're not worried about slipping or falling or tripping or anything like that. But as you start to sort of grope in the darkness, whatever's in here opens up more than you can swing a stick at.
Hmm.
And it takes about 20 feet of movement, slow going. And before you're able to get out of it, Mary Garton, Laecia looks to you and sort of, want to go first or should I?
Oh, I thought he went first.
Well, I mean next. Who wants to go
Yeah,
first?
yeah. So she does follow Garrett
Okay.
right after.
You have a similar experience as you move through this darkness. You start to reach out, just make sure you don't run into anything, and start making your way through. And you can hear Garrett ahead of you, and then you can hear Laecia behind you. And as the three of you move forward, Garrett, you're the first one to feel the edge of a precipice. And as you reach out and like touch the edge, you realize you're still looking at a darkness, but that's because you're looking down into a chasm that is more than 300 feet deep. Very quickly, Mary Garton, you come onto the scene and feel the heel of Garrett's boot. And as you stand up and look out, you see a very similar structure to the one you saw mere moments ago. And as Laisha makes her way onto the scene, she gasps with shock. And as the three of you stand at the edge of this precipice, you see a tremendous obsidian castle in on a another sort of rocky outcrop across this expanse. It rises up nearly a dozen stories at its highest, and it seems to sprawl the size of some city states. It is tremendous in scale. And the inside of this cavern matches it and then some. The dark rocks glistening, almost like twilight, like starlight in the sky, giving it an interesting, almost cosmic effect to this space. And as you stand on that precipice, now it's not in your head, Mary Garton. You hear the caw of a raven and the flapping of its wings as it descends from a spire high up in the distance of this fortress. And you hear Laecia whisper, "My God, it's the Fortress of Memories." And that is where I'll leave it. Lovely. Very exciting time tonight. You guys did a great job with these combat encounters. I gotta say, truly impressed with what you guys are able to do. Um, that correspond worm is a CR 15.
Pretty decent.
If that puts some things in perspective for y'all. So y'all did a very competent job with that. Yeah, one more week to wrap up
Cool.
this little mini series, and then I'll take a little break because I'm going to be driving up the West Coast, kids. I'll still be running games while I drive, but I have a feeling that 2 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from now, will be just before I leave. And then once I'm on the road, I will resume gameplay. I just need a couple days to make sure everything's backed up, button things up here in Tucson, and then I'll be on the road. The next time after that, y'all see me, I'll be broadcasting from the seat of a Mercedes Benz. It's not the worst time you can have. So, any other questions, comments, or secret ambitions before I bid you guys good night?
No.
And I will bid you all adieu and au revoir, and remind you as always to be good, to take care of yourselves, and if you can't be good, don't get caught. Bye, gentlemen. It was great seeing you. Have a lovely evening.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye, y'all.